In this video, we will take a closer look at the debate between ethical universalism and ethical relativism. This debate centers around the nature of moral principles and whether they are the same across cultures and contexts or are instead dependent on specific cultural or individual perspectives. Understanding these two schools of thought is important in fields such as philosophy, ethics, anthropology, and international business. In the last part of the video, we will examine ethical issues surrounding bribes and kickbacks through the lenses of ethical universalism and ethical relativism. Ethical universalism posits that there are universal moral principles that apply to all human beings, regardless of culture, race, sex, religion, nationality, or any other distinguishing feature. This perspective suggests that certain actions are inherently right or wrong, and these determinations are not subject to change based on individual or cultural beliefs. For instance, principles like honesty, respect for human life, and justice are often cited as universal values. Advocates argue that a universal moral code is necessary for governing international relations, human rights, and global justice. It serves as a foundation for creating international laws and regulations that apply across different cultures and nations. However, critics of ethical universalism often claim it may inadvertently promote a form of cultural imperialism, where the moral values of one culture are imposed on others. Ethical relativism, on the other hand, argues that morality is culturally dependent and that no moral principles are universally valid. Instead, what is considered moral or immoral depends on societal norms, traditions, and individual beliefs. From this perspective, actions cannot be judged as inherently right or wrong outside of their cultural context. Ethical relativism emphasizes understanding and tolerance of cultural differences, promoting a more pluralistic view of morality. It challenges the application of universal moral principles, arguing that such applications can be ethnocentric and ignore the complexities of cultural diversity. One criticism of ethical relativism is that it could lead to moral nihilism, where any action can be justified depending on the cultural context, potentially undermining the pursuit of global justice and human rights. The tension between these two schools of thought is evident in many contemporary ethical debates, such as those concerning human rights, environmental ethics, and global business practices. Ethical universalism seeks a common ground on which to build a globally applicable moral framework, while ethical relativism encourages a more nuanced and context-sensitive approach to understanding morality. In practice, many people and institutions adopt a position somewhere between these two extremes, acknowledging the existence of certain universal moral principles, while also recognizing the importance of cultural and situational contexts in determining ethical behavior. This middle ground allows for a flexible approach to ethics that can accommodate global diversity while striving for a harmonious and just world community. When examining the ethical issues surrounding bribes and kickbacks through the lenses of ethical universalism and ethical relativism, we encounter fundamentally different approaches to evaluating their morality and justifiability. Ethical universalists would argue that bribery and kickbacks are inherently unethical, regardless of the cultural or situational context in which they occur. From this viewpoint, such practices violate universal moral principles such as honesty, integrity, fairness, and justice. Bribes and kickbacks can undermine trust in institutions, distort market mechanisms, and lead to unfair advantages that harm individuals, businesses, and society as a whole. According to the perspective of ethical universalism, bribes are seen as universally immoral because they compromise the fairness and integrity of decision-making processes, whether in government, business transactions, or any other domain. In a global business context, ethical universalism supports the implementation of uniform anti-corruption policies and laws, like the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, FCPA, in the United States, which seeks to prevent bribery of foreign officials by American businesses and their affiliates. Ethical relativists, however, might argue that the ethicality of bribes and kickbacks depends on the cultural and contextual norms where these practices occur. In some cultures, what is considered a bribe in one context might be seen as a customary gift or a necessary facilitation payment in another, essential for conducting business or navigating bureaucratic processes. The ethical relativism perspective does not necessarily condone bribery, but recognizes that practices vary between cultures, and what is considered unethical in one may be acceptable or even expected in another. Ethical relativism poses significant challenges for multinational corporations that operate in a variety of cultural contexts. These businesses must navigate a fine line between respecting local practices and adhering to ethical standards that apply across all operations. In reality, addressing the issue of bribes and kickbacks in international business often requires a nuanced approach that incorporates elements of both ethical universalism and ethical relativism. A challenge for multinational companies is how to combine global standards with local sensitivity. Companies may adopt anti-corruption policies based on universal ethical principles while also showing sensitivity to local customs and practices. This might involve detailed guidance on what constitutes a bribe versus a culturally appropriate gift. Providing comprehensive ethics training that takes into account both universal principles and local norms can help employees navigate complex situations they might encounter in different cultural contexts. Moreover, engaging in dialogue with local stakeholders to understand their perspectives and adapt practices in a manner that is both ethically sound and culturally respectful. In conclusion, while ethical universalism and ethical relativism offer contrasting views on the morality of bribes and kickbacks, a practical approach often lies somewhere in between, requiring global companies to uphold universal ethical standards while being mindful of local customs and norms. Before you go, if you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like and consider subscribing to stay updated with our latest discussions. I'm Dr. Dag, eager to hear your thoughts or future topic suggestions in the comments below. Wishing you a fantastic day ahead.